Greetings and welcome to our daily Devo for Thursday, May the 4th. Today, May the 4th. Our devotion for today is we're taking a trip through the Holy Land, a devotional through the Holy Land, Beth Shean or Beth Shean, also known evidently as Scythopolis, Scythopolis. The verses that are quoted or alluded to is Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21. They quote verse 15 in the opening. Then he said to them, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." That's Luke 12:15 out of the middle of the passage for today, Luke 12:13 to 21. 6,000 years. That's how long there has been a major city at this intersection of the Jordan and Jezreel valleys. Established hundreds of years before Abraham's birth, the city was first called Beth Shean. Its successor, Scythopolis, was still going strong at the time of Jesus. So far as we know, Jesus never visited this prosperous Decapolis city, but he does warn us against adopting its worldly values. Beth Shean or Scythopolis was destined to become something special. Its location at the junction of two major valley systems meant that merchants carrying commodities between Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Europe, and Asia had to travel through it. The city's spectacular wealth and the culture of greed that it fostered are intimately tied to its advantageous geography. Scythopolis wasn't shy about showing off its wealth. Instead of the meandering dirt streets that were typical in Galilean villages at the time of Jesus, Scythopolis had boulevards paved with basalt blocks laid in herringbone pattern. Unlike in the substance economy of surrounding towns where people worked endlessly to meet their basic needs, residents of Scythopolis simply purchased whatever they needed. Shoppers strolled on pillar-lined sidewalks decorated with inlaid mosaics as they shopped for food, clothing, and luxury items. Instead of having to dig and maintain wells, citizens of Scythopolis could walk to the city center where piped-in water gushed from an ornate fountain. When nature called, they didn't have to discreetly walk out of the village, but could saunter down the block to an enclosed public restroom, complete with ancient toilet seats. Typical villages didn't offer much in the way of entertainment, but Scythopolis boasted a bathhouse, a theater, and a chariot racetrack. Oh, yes, Scythopolis seemed to have it all. But having it all didn't bring satisfaction, as one disembodied voice from the past makes clear. A man who lived in another Decapolis city, and that was an area near Lake Galilee of 10 cities, Deca for 10, polis for cities. A man who lived in another Decapolis city that was similar to Scythopolis carved these words on the lintel of his grave. Quote, "After all things, a tomb," unquote. There was a void in his life that could not be filled by material luxuries. After all things, a tomb. Jesus said it like this, as we read already, life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Luke 12:15. And that's still true for each of us today. I have stood at Scythopolis beside people whose eyes filled with tears as they told me about their former life of having everything that money could buy. But until they found Jesus, they lacked the true satisfaction found not in abundance of possessions, but in having the one thing we need most, Jesus. If you've ever moved very often, as Sue and I have done over the years, before I even knew Sue, as a preacher's kid and all that went with that and the moving, and the moving we've done together as a family, you begin to learn we got too much junk. We find it, don't even remember we had it as we go to pack things up. When we moved back here to Johnson City from Indianapolis, the garbage men gave us a whole boatload of dirty looks when they pulled up to our curb because of all we just decided we don't need that. We found out we don't need that. And so it's not really the source of joy that we think it is it? Jesus. Jesus is the real source of joy. Question: why do we so easily fall into the trap of thinking that more possessions will bring us more happiness? And question number 2: what do you do to keep your views on material possessions aligned with those expressed by Jesus? And here's today's prayer. Lord Jesus, I am so easily entrapped by the love of things. I confess that abundant possessions will not lead to satisfaction in life or hope for the life to come. Please save me from myself, anchor my identity and my satisfaction in you. Good thoughts today, especially living in the culture in which we live. It's good to have the right perspective on things that we store here versus things we store in heaven. Have a blessed day.